You're 16, kneeling on the kitchen floor with a jug of bug killer, because nobody in this house is calling an exterminator. The jug cost $9.97 at the hardware store. You spray a band along the baseboard, drop bait behind the cabinet doors, set 2 snap traps in the garage, and stuff steel wool into the pipe gap. A professional visit costs $100 to $300, every quarter, forever. 2 decades later, a man who started under his own sink signs a purchase agreement for $207.1 million. Between those two moments sits a $13.4 billion industry built on people paying a small fee 4 times a year to make bugs somebody else's problem. The jug is the cheap version of that fee. The sale is what happens when you own the fee instead of dodging it. This is every level of pest control in America, and what it actually costs to climb. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The under-sink fix. You're 16, and there's a smell behind the refrigerator. Oily and musty and sweetish, the specific reek of a roach harborage nobody has touched in a year. Your mother gets a quote to make it stop, and the number is $250 to $530 for one visit, so you open a video instead. A stranger walks you through the whole job in 11 minutes, and the treatment costs $9.97 at the hardware store. 1 gallon of perimeter killer with a plastic wand screwed onto the neck. You empty the cabinet under the sink, wipe down the shelf liner with a rag, throw out the dish soap that leaked years ago, and pull the refrigerator out on its little rollers. That's where they are, packed along the warm coils in the dark. You spray a band along the baseboards, low and even, the way the video said, and the chemical sweet smell of it drying fills the kitchen for an hour. You set bait stations in the back corners of the cabinet. You put snap traps in the garage along the wall, not in the middle of the floor, because rodents run edges. You stuff steel wool into the pipe gap where the drain line enters the wall, and you caulk over the top of it. Then you do the thing every first-timer does. You spray over the bait, and you contaminate every placement you just made. 2 weeks later, there are more roaches than when you started. You buy a second jug because the first one didn't work. It isn't the jug. The rule the professionals use is spray low, bait high, keep them apart, or the bait becomes something roaches learn to walk around. So you scrub the residue off the shelf, rebait clean, and wait. 3 weeks after that, the traps are empty, the corners are clear, and the cabinet smells like nothing at all. Your mother notices before you say anything, and she keeps the jug under the sink like a fire extinguisher. You didn't learn chemistry. You learned that placement beats volume, that where you put it matters more than how much you put down. The bugs came back once and you beat them the second time, which is the entire job in miniature. What you don't know yet is that the quarterly fee you just dodged is the most valuable recurring product in the American home. Level 2. The ride-along. You're 18, and a national company will train you from zero for $22 to $25 an hour, plus a work truck with a gas card in the console. There's a $1,500 sign-on bonus if you show up already licensed. You don't, so you don't get it. Instead, you get 90 days to earn a state pesticide license, or you're off the truck. In Texas, the math is fixed. 20 classroom hours in general standards, 8 hours inside your license category, 40 hours on the job under someone else's card, then an exam you pass at 70% or not at all. The first week you don't touch a trigger. You carry the sprayer. It's a stainless compressed air can, and the man you're riding with calls it his sprayer the way other men name a dog. You learn to pump it up slowly. A hiss and a click and a stop, because overpressurizing turns a pin stream into a soaked wall, and a soaked wall means a callback. Callback is the word that runs everything here. It means going back for free. You pin stream a baseboard void on stop number 4. Too much pressure, and the residual runs down onto the customer's floor molding in a visible stripe. The tech hands you a rag and says nothing, which is worse. You bleed the pressure off, wipe it, and do the next 11 baseboards clean. Then the attic. Blown-in insulation up your forearms. An itch that lasts through a shower. A headlamp beam full of dust, and a rodent runway in that dust so obvious you spot it before he does. He lets you set the traps. You place them square on the runway, triggers to the wall. On the recheck 2 days later, both are taken. A technician named Brian Shepard launched his career as a universal technician in Nashville in 2016 and moved up from there, and that's the same title stitched on your badge, the entry role that covers general pest before you specialize in anything. Universal means you do all of it and none of it well yet. You stop asking what the product is and start asking where it goes. You pass the exam on the first sitting, and the card comes in the mail in a paper envelope with a window in it. Nobody congratulates you. They hand you a route. Level 3. The route. You're licensed, you're solo, and the truck is yours until you quit. 12 to 20 residential stops a day, and pay that lands near the median for pest control workers, $44,730 a year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Most of that is production. Production means stops closed, add-ons sold, callbacks avoided. The morning is a loadout. Gel bait in the door caddy, bulb duster in the side bin, exterior bait stations stacked in the back, snap traps in a bucket, the sprayer filled and pressurized before you leave the lot. You plan the day for route density, how tight your accounts cluster, because a route with 9 miles between stops eats your afternoon and your margin. Stop 1 is a repeat. You knock, you greet, you ask what's changed since last quarter. You inspect first. Droppings in the corner of the pantry, a grease line where the stove meets the cabinet, moisture under the trap of the sink. You dust the wall void with the bulb duster, 2 puffs into the outlet gap. You refresh the exterior stations, log the ticket, and you're back in the truck in 22 minutes. Then the bad one. A rental duplex, and it's a full roach cleanout, the kind that takes 3 hours if you do it right. You can smell it from the entry, that ammonia weight behind the refrigerator. Everything in you says rush it, because you're paid on production and 3 hours is 3 stops you don't run. So you rush it. You lay gel bait dots fast, 3 to 5 dots per 10 linear feet, but you skip the prep conversation. You never tell the tenant to stop spraying store-bought aerosol between visits. 11 days later, the office calls. The tenant sprayed the entire kitchen with a can from the grocery store, contaminated every dot, and the roaches routed around the bait like it was a wall. That's a callback, on your number, for free. You drive back on a Thursday you don't get paid for. This time, you sit at the kitchen table for 6 minutes first and explain the transfer effect. How a poisoned roach carries it home and kills the ones you can't reach, and how a can of aerosol on top of the bait ends all of it. The tenant listens. You rebait clean, you dust the voids, you leave. 4 weeks later, the account renews spotless, and it stays on your route for 3 more years. Ants are the #1 source of callbacks in this industry, named in 51.6% of the responses in last year's industry survey. So you learn to write the prep instructions on the invoice, in pen, before you leave. You get fast without getting sloppy. You start hearing the difference between a rat in a wall void and a pipe ticking. You stop checking the clock at stop 8. Somewhere in year 2, your callback rate drops under the branch average and nobody says a word about it, which in this business is the compliment. A technician named Luther Mosley in Tampa ran roughly 250 stops a month with a cancellation rate under 1% and told a trade magazine, "I have the biggest route in the company, but it comes easy." It comes easy because he never has to go back. The route pays. The route also doesn't grow. The money is in the thing you're not licensed for yet, the crawl space, the trench, the job the man in the other truck runs all day. Level 4. The termite job. A liquid barrier treatment on an average home bills $1,200 to $2,500, and one of them takes you a day. That's the whole reason you added the category. The job starts on your knees. Mud tubes on the pier, pencil width, running up the block, and inside the crawl space it's cold mud at knee height, standing water in the low corner, and a smell like a basement that never dries. You graph the structure on the state termite form, room by room, marking active tubes and old damage in different notation because the paperwork is the liability. That document outlives you. A wood-destroying organism report is what holds up a home sale or clears one. Then the trench. 4 inches deep, 6 inches wide, all the way around the foundation, and you dig it by hand where the shrubs are. You rod the termiticide into the trench at the labeled rate, a non-repellent the colony walks through without ever detecting. You hammer drill the patio slab every 12 to 18 inches, and the noise fills the whole yard, dust blowing back off the bit into your safety glasses. You space 3 holes too far apart at the back corner because a downspout is in the way. That's a gap in the barrier. A highway. You catch it yourself at the rod, back up, drill the 2 extra holes, and inject. Nobody would have known for 4 years. You foam the wall voids where the tubes came through. You set monitoring stations in a ring around the drip line. Then you write the warranty, and the warranty is the part with your name on it. At the re-inspection, there are no active tubes, no new mud, nothing on the monitors. The homeowner closes on the sale 11 days later. A termite technician named Brian Dickinson in Jacksonville told a trade magazine what precision injection did to his day. What used to take us 5 hours can be as little as 2 hours now. You stop calling it spraying. The Associate Certified Entomologist credential from the Entomological Society of America wants 5 years of verifiable experience and a 150-question exam. 40 hours of self-study, most people say. You start reading in the truck at lunch. Level 5 is where they take the truck away. Level 5. The branch. You're a technical services manager now, and the posting for the job you took said $92,000 to $95,000 a year. You don't have a route. You have 12 of them. 6 in the morning, the branch bay smells like diesel and pesticide, and the roll-up door is still down. You pull yesterday's production numbers before anyone arrives. 2 callbacks overnight, both ants, both on the same technician. You don't write him up. You ride behind him at 9, watch him skip the exterior perimeter because it's raining, and correct it at the tailgate in about 40 seconds. The rest of the day is routing. You rebalance stops for density, move 4 accounts off a technician running 11 miles between calls, and hand a commercial account to the deep harborage aerosol machine and the one man who knows how to run it. You approve 2 termite bids. You audit 6 service tickets for label compliance because the label is the law under the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, amended in 1972, and the Environmental Protection Agency's Worker Protection Standard, revised in 2015, is what makes your chemical storage cage look the way it does. Dispatch reassigns 3 stops over the radio while you're standing there. The real job is retention. Replacing a technician costs 50 to 150% of that technician's salary, and you have 4 open seats. So you stop hiring for experience and start hiring for people who show up on time twice. The technician you corrected in the rain posts the branch's best first-time fix number in the 3rd quarter. Your own card comes back with 3 letters on it. A service manager named Nick Vasco in Pittsburgh put it plainly when he earned the same credential. I've been in the industry for 20 years, and adding it seemed to be the next logical step. Yours takes 40 hours of study, and one Saturday morning, you stop washing a truck. You start reading a profit and loss statement, and the 2 documents describe the same 11 men. And you notice something in the numbers that nobody at branch level is supposed to care about. The recurring agreements renew at a rate that makes every one of them worth a multiple of itself. The branch doesn't own those, somebody does. Level 6. The exit. You buy a small book of business, 400 accounts and a used truck, from a man who's tired, and you spend 9 years making it bigger. Recurring revenue is 74% of the income in this industry, measured across 246 firms in the 2025 cost study. In residential, recurring is 85.4% of the service revenue. That's not a statistic, that's the reason a route sells, so you build for it. You cluster accounts by zip code until a technician can run 20 stops without merging onto a highway. You put a manager between yourself and the schedule, then another one, until the day comes when nobody calls you about a truck at all. You get your own license off the critical path, because an owner who holds the only applicator card in the company gets marked down 30 to 40% at sale, on the theory that the buyer is purchasing a man, not a business. The median pest control company on the open market sells for about $250,000. A route of 1,800 recurring accounts renewing at 92% trades at 3.5 times earnings. That's the ladder inside the ladder. Then the letters start. 2 national buyers, 3 private equity roll-ups, all with the same 1-page teaser. A founder named Andrew Richardson started a pest control company in Orem, Utah in 2008. Grew it past $65 million in annual revenue across 9 states and 250 employees, and in April 2025 sold it for $207.1 million. The same buyer paid $62.4 million for a company called Orkin back in 1964, when the buyer itself was doing $9 million a year. You take a lower offer from the bidder who keeps your technicians. Diligence runs 11 weeks. You stop answering the phone on the first ring. The wire clears on a Tuesday morning, and your bookkeeper calls to say it landed before you finished your coffee. Here's what nobody tells you at level 1. The money in this trade was never in knowing bugs. Every technician thinks the top of the ladder is the man who can identify a species from a droppings pattern in a dark pantry. It isn't. It's the person who owns the 90 days between visits. That's the whole machine. $100 to $300 4 times a year, from a household that would rather pay than think about it, and the only thing a buyer is purchasing is the probability that the payment happens again. Multiply that by 1,800, and you have a route. Multiply the route, and you have a company worth $207.1 million. Your knees are worse than they were, and no crawl space ever gave one of them back. You'd do the crawl spaces again, because they're the reason you could read a termite bid at a glance when it mattered. The climb wasn't the chemistry. It was learning, one callback at a time, that the customer pays for not having to come back, and then buying that promise by the thousand. The kid you hired in March is 19. He's on stop number 6 today, kneeling in front of an open cabinet with a bulb duster in his hand, and he's making $22 an hour to do it. The household he's standing in pays $100 to $300 a visit for the privilege of never seeing what lives behind the refrigerator. He doesn't know yet that the fee is the asset. He thinks the job is the bugs. You thought that too, at his age, kneeling on a kitchen floor with a jug you bought with your own money. You didn't sell trucks. You sold 90 days over and over until it added up to 9 figures. There's a gallon jug of perimeter killer on a shelf in the warehouse you still own, the same $9.97 version with the plastic wand, kept there because somebody once used one to fix a kitchen instead of paying for it. Nobody sells it, nobody moves it. It sits at eye level, next to the door you walk through every morning, and the whole building behind it is yours.